Now, what is a due date exactly? So your due date is the date that your credit card company requires you to at least make the minimum payment. So going back to the example, if you have a credit limit of $1,000, right? And then you used $900, so now you have an available credit. Your available credit will be $900, right? But your balance, what you owe, right, is, let's say, is $100, right? So now this is what you owe, right? Remember that, that's what you owe. So now, on your due date, right, so let's say it's the 5th of every month, your credit card company is going to ask you to make at least the minimum payment from this $100 that you have. They're not going to ask you to make the full payment, to pay up the full balance. They're just going to ask you to make the minimum payment. So let's say the minimum payment is, right, it's $10, right? So let's say the minimum payment is $10. So which means you have to pay that $10. It's required by the credit card company by the due date, which is the 5th. So by the 5th, you got to make sure you pay that credit card company off, right? So let me exit this one because it looks like a turn off there on Instagram. So back to this here. So, right, remember, you use $100, but your due date is on the 5th. Your credit card company is only going to ask you to make, they're going to send you a statement. In that statement, they're only going to require you to make the minimum payment. So the minimum payment, let's say, will be $10, right? So now you have $10 to make from that balance that you owe, okay? So now that is your due date, right? So your due date, as I said, it changes every month, right? Now, here's another thing that you have to be mindful of, right? You got to know your billing cycle. Your billing cycle. What is a billing cycle? Your billing cycle is the date that your credit card company prints the statement and they send you that statement the next day, right? So let's say your billing cycle is, no, your billing cycle doesn't change. It's always the same day every month. Your due date changes, right? So let's say your billing cycle is on the 10th of every month, right? The 10th of every month. So every month. So the 10th of every month. Your due date, as I mentioned, is on the 5th of every month. So now pay close attention. Your billing cycle is on the 10th of every month. So every month, let's say December the 10th is your billing cycle. January the 10th is your billing cycle. February the 10th is your billing cycle. So your billing cycle is the date that the credit card company prints your statement and they send it out to you. The due date is the date that the credit card company requires you to at least make the minimum payment from what you use. So like I said, if you use the $100, the credit card company is going to send you a statement and the due date is going to be on the 5th of, let's say, January for you to make that minimum payment of $10. Okay, now watch this very carefully, right? Your billing cycle is on the 10th, so let's say January 5th is your due date and your billing cycle is on the 10th. That's when your statement is going to print. So which means, right, if you don't pay off this $10 by the 5th, you still have a few days, you still have a few more days until the billing cycle gets printed, right? But the thing is this, some credit card companies, it takes 3 business days for them to receive payment. Anywhere from 3 to 5 business days. That's why you always want to make your payment before the due date, right? Because if you miss it, let's say you made the payment on the 4th, right? Because sometimes it takes 3 days. So which means it could, the credit card company will receive it on 4th, the 5th, the 6th, right? So even though the due date was on the 5th and they received it on the 6th, that means you're good. However, if they don't receive your payment by the 10th when your billing cycle, when your statement gets printed, then that payment is going to be late with your credit card company. So it's going to be, it's going to be late with the credit card company, right? So that's why you always want to make your payment at least 3 days before the due date. 3 days, or even, the sooner you can. Once you get your statement, just make sure you pay off that statement, right? So billing cycle, right? Your billing cycle is the date that the credit card company prints the statement every month. So your credit card company will print the statement every month at the same day. That's what you call your billing cycle or your statement print date. So in this case, let's say it's January the 10th. So January the 10th is your billing cycle. February the 10th is your billing cycle. So which means you got to make sure you have your payment before the 10th. As I said, it takes a few days for payments to reach your credit card companies. It could take anywhere from 3 to 5 business days, right? So you want to make it ahead of time. But if they don't receive the payment by the billing cycle, right? Billing cycle, then your payment is considered late. So if the billing cycle is on the 10th of every month, so let's say January, right? January 10th. If they don't receive it by January 10th, then your payment is late, right? So which means they will print it the next day. The next day, the 11th, they will send you your credit card statement. So, and then you will see that you did not make your payment on time. So, very important. Your due date is the date that the credit card company requires you to at least make the minimum payment, right? The due date changes every month. So, you got to make your minimum payment by the due date, or even make it before the due date. Make it 3 days before the due date, because that's how long it takes. Some credit card companies, it takes 3 days for them to receive the payment. So, if you, right now, check this. If your due date is on the 5th and your billing cycle is on the 10th, and then you make the payment, right? So let's say you made the payment on the 8th, right? So let's say the 8th of, well, let's use this month for example, right? Today is what? I think today is December 9th, right? So let's say if you make a payment today, your due date was on the 5th, and then you just got the statement like, oh, you know what, I forgot to make my payment, and then you go today, the 9th, to make the payment. Well, guess what? Because your billing cycle is on the 10th, that payment is going to be late, right? So that payment is going to arrive late because they are going to print that statement tomorrow, which is December 10th. They're going to print your statement tomorrow. Your payment is going to be late. So that's why you want to make your payment at least 3 days or even earlier, at least minimum 3 days, because that's how long it takes a lot of credit card companies to receive the payment, 3 to 5